Right, you are welcome again to today's class. Today is our second class in our second week, and we hope that at the end of today, we would have learned something great. And then today we are going to be doing count if, we are going to be doing the sum if, and then we'll do nested functions, and then we do data cleaning. Hopefully, we'll be able to complete this today, so we'll be moving quickly. Right. The first thing we want to do today is to use the count if function. So what is the count if function? For the last lesson, we looked at the if function. That's a conditional statement. So we want to combine the count and the if. And what will that do for us? It's going to count the cells and it will consider the condition in the if statement. That means we should count if this condition is satisfied. For example, you want to count the number of sales if the sale is greater than $10,000. Or you want to count the number of staff if their department is IT. Okay, let me use the projected profits. So I'll do equals to count if, and then the range is, let's say, this on the screen, then comma, and then let's say it's greater than, what can I see on the screen, 40,000. And then I close the brackets. And I press enter. So it's showing it's 2. Okay, let me do that again. Let me do it just beside it. Is equals to count if. I double click on it. Then what is the range? The range is this. And then I put comma. And then what is the criteria? Criteria should be within that same range. And that is greater than, it is greater than 19,000. Then I close the quotation and then I close the bracket and I press enter. So it gives me the count. The count is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means that is correct. Okay. Let's try it again for this month name. Let's say it's equals to count if, double click. This is the range. And then comma. Then what is the criteria? Then let me close the brackets. Arrangements of the formula. If you look at the formula again here, I have count if is equals to count if, open the bracket, you select the range, comma, then what is the criteria? You put the criteria in quotation, equals to June, and you close it, and that gives you the counts. And if you count it truly here, what do you have? You have June. So how many June do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is correct. Okay, so another function we want to look at is the sum if. Sum if. Of course, you are telling Excel to sum it up if the condition is fulfilled. So we do is equals to sum if, and then it's telling you what is the range. So the range is I select the range. Let's say I select month number. I select it up to 6. I want to use what we can see on the screen. Then I put a comma. It's asking me for the criteria. What is the criteria I want to use? And I'm saying the criteria is greater than 6. So greater than 6. Then I close that. Then comma. What is the range of the sum? So that means the range you are putting the condition is that first one, which is a month number. Now, the one you want to sum, which column or which cells do you want to sum? So the same thing, I select the range. And then I close it. and I press enter. So what is this doing? Look at the formula again. Sum if you have put the range R3 to R10. So it is telling Excel that if this range R3 to R10 is greater than 6, if the value in that range is in each cell is greater than 6, then give me the sum of T3 to T10, which is exactly what he has done. So it just sums it up for me. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is to combine the if statement with an and statement. So if this and these conditions are fulfilled, then give me this. Otherwise, give me that. We are combining if and we are combining and. So that means the two conditions must be fulfilled before I can get a green in that other column. Otherwise, give me a red. Just something as simple as that. So let's use column 5. And what do? We press equals to if, double click it. Remember, we're doing and, so we use and as well. We open a bracket, and then we click on, let's say, projected profit. So if projected profit is greater than, let's say, 20,000, comma, and then column 4 is greater than, let's say 240,000, comma. So what should the Excel tell you? And because you can have different logical expressions, logical 1, logical 2, and the likes, but we have just 2. So I can close it, then comma. We can see that it's asking me for value if true. So if it is true, just tell me green, comma. What if it is false? Tell me red. Close it, then close the expression. So look at it again. If and. So what are the two conditions I want fulfilled before you can give me a green? The projected profit must be greater than 20,000, and the column 4 must be greater than 240,000. So if those two conditions are fulfilled, give me a green. If they are not fulfilled, give me a red. Then you press enter. So if we look at the first one is green because this is more than 20,000, this is more than 240,000. Green. Second one as well. Third one, even though column 4 is 240,000, is more than 240,000, but because projected profit is less than 20,000, it will still give me a red because the two conditions must be fulfilled before I can get a green. If the two conditions are not fulfilled, then I get a red. Right. So we want to look at inserting a simple chart in our Excel sheet. So we're turning to the second sheet in our sample file. And then from the table, we can see the name, the department, the salary, the bonus, joining dates, full time, and the likes and the likes. Now, let's say we want to illustrate this with a chart so that it is easy for us to visualize. What do we do? For example, I want to see the department and the salary. Let me just see that distribution on a chart. So what will I do? I just select the two columns and then I go to insert. I can see the recommended charts here. So I can decide to choose the recommended chart, or I can just choose any one I want myself. So if I click on the recommended chart, I can see the different options I have. So I just say, okay, I'm fine with a clustered column chart, and I click OK. And then I can see the charts. I can resize it. I can move it around. I can paste it in Microsoft PowerPoint. I can paste it in Microsoft Word. I can change it. Let's say I work um, for the new department or salary distribution. Distribution. I can change the fill color. I can choose a green. I can choose a yellow, just depending on what I want. I can choose, I can decide to say, okay, let me edit itself. I can come to the format and then, just anything you want, the way it works for you. You can choose the outline. Let's say I want the outline to be red. We can see the outline around the charts. It is red. We can choose, if you right click on the charts, you can add data labels. If you click add data labels, you can now see, okay, for HR is 50,000, for IT it is 60,000, and then you can decide to change the, you can format the data labels. Let's say you want separator to be a semicolon, or you want it to be a comma, just as it works for you. And remember that if I come back to my data and I change anything, it affects the charts. We can see now it has affected the chart. If I want to reduce or increase the decimal points, I can also do that, and then it still affects the charts. If I want to put the currency symbol, I can, and then it changes it to my desired one. If I don't want the UK, I can choose Bitcoin, or I can choose Russia, whatever works for you. And then you can just expand it the way you want it. Okay, let's say I want to call column F, I want to call it increased or salary plus. Salary plus. Expand this. Then I want to see what's the proportion or what's the distribution between the increase in salary and the staff that are full-time or not full-time. So I have column F and I have column H. I want to, visualize this using a chart. Insert recommended charts, and then I want this. So we can see the charts now. So what I want is the yes and the no, and then the figure. So if I look at it, if I right click and I click add data labels, so I can see that for the entire organization, a total of 127,000 was increased for staff that are not full-time. But for those that are full-time, I have 183,000. So if you go to the sheet back, what I did before was to highlight the department and the salary, go to insert, and then come to recommended charts, then choose the first one or whichever one works for you, and then you click OK. Then you can format it where you want. So it is doing it by the departments. So we have this data set, and we have received it. We want to make it presentable to the management, but the data is not looking really nice. And we want to make sure we clean up the data and then visualize the data using maybe a bar chart or whatever visual we have chosen. So the first thing we can do is to ensure that the dates column is visible. The each cell is visible under the date joined. So we click here and then double click. Now we can see the dates joined. We can see that the name column is not in proper mode. That means the first name is not starting with D in most of these cells in the colon. The second name is not starting with capital letters, and that's how it should be. So how can we make it in proper form, in proper format? What do? We just come to the B colon, right click, and then click insert. Then we can name it, let's say, full name. And then we can say, okay, of course, we can use a formula. Is equals to, if we use the proper function, we can see, let me start that again so that I can read. You can see it says proper. It says it converts a text string to proper case, the first letter in each word to uppercase and all other letters to lowercase. So that's what we want. So we double click on the proper, and then we click on A2. And then we close the brackets, and then we press enter. And then we can click, when it turns to a cross sign, we double click. Now we can see that there's still space before, just before the D. We can see that there is a space before the first letter. So what can we do to do that? We can trim it so that extra spaces are removed. Okay, so if I right click again, insert, and then I say name plus, we can always change that later. So we can do is equals to trim, removes all spaces from the text except for single spaces between words. That's what we want. So we double click on it, open the bracket, click on B2, and then close it. And then we press enter. Then click on it again. When it changes to arrow, double click. And then we can see that now there are no unnecessary spaces before each words. So we can compare colon A, colon B, colon C. We can see that colon C is what we want. That means we can decide to change this one to maybe first name, last name. I'll leave it there so that we can see the differences to see what we have done so far. Okay, one other thing we can do is to remove every cell or every column every row that has no content. For example, you don't know the age of this person, just remove it from the data. Otherwise, or you can just hide it, or you can decide to make it blank, so that you know that everything that is blank are the ages, are staff without ages. Okay, so if I want to, I can just write, maybe just click on the entire column, and then I use Control F, and then where there is nothing, replace it with blank, and then replace all. 18 replacements made, and then you close it. You can double click. So you have blank, and then you still have N/A. I want to replace that as well with blank. So I can right click, and then, click inside the colon, Control F to find, then paste it because I've already copied N/A. And what do I want to replace it? I want to replace it with blank. Then I can replace all. Okay, close. So that means you either have a number or you have blank. But even at that, it still doesn't look nice, because if I want to make that colon to be numbers, I will not be able to, visualize that data because I have blank and I have numbers. So instead of blank, why not just let's make it 0? And then we can explain to management that some people did not put their ages and we have replaced it with 0. So we can highlight it again, Control F, replace blank with 0, and then you click replace all. So now we know that anywhere we find 0, is that the person did not enter the age, or they just left it blank, or they just put N/A, which is not good for us. We can do the same thing for the salary colon. If it is not known, If it is not, if it does not contain a salary or a figure, you can change it to 0. So I've copied it, I highlight it again, and I click Ctrl F, and I say, if you have anything called unknown, ANOWN, replace it with 0. Replace all. 12 has been replaced, but you can still see some blanks. So what I want to find is to replace anything that is blank with 0. And then 24 replacements have been made, and then you close it. So now you have either 0 or you have numbers. And what if I want to make it actually, because it's salary, let me make it currency. So I can highlight the colon, come to this drop down arrow, and then change it to currency. And it's telling me it is in pounds. Do I want pounds? If I don't want pounds, let's say I want Canadian dollar, and then I click OK. That's that done. Then I come to the email. Is email fine? I have invalid email. So anywhere I find invalid email, can I just replace it with I think it's fine. I can just leave it as invalid email so that I know I have either the good email addresses or invalid email. Then for this, I have blank. That means this department, there are still blanks there. What can I do? Okay, let me convert this to a table first. So I can Control A, and then I can Control T. Control A is to select the entire data set. Control T is to change it to a table. So yes, I click my table as headers, then I click OK. So it has converted it to a table. Then I can filter out the blanks from the departments. So far, every other data is included except for this department that I want to filter out. So let's say I want to filter out anyone that is blank. So I am selecting all except the blanks. Then I click OK. So that means everything now has a department. But for example, I want to send a report to the management and tell them that these are the staff that did not include their departments. What will I do? I come here to the filter, click the drop-down arrow, click the select all, click it again to unselect everything. Then I want to see just the blanks. And then I click OK. So I can just copy this and say, these people did not include their department. Can you please send it to me? Okay, that's for that. And then you can select all and exclude the blanks. And then you have the dates joined. So if I highlight this, come to home, and then instead of the format being general, I can change it to short dates. So it has changed the format to a date. Now I have clean data. Even for the salary, if you decide to remove the ones that have no figure, you can come here, click here and remove the zeros and click OK. So this is all we have. Staff with names, with salary, with departments. If you want to exclude those that did not include their ages, still unselect it and click OK. So these are the only 4 staff that are qualified for salary increase because they have clean data. So you can send it to management and then they can use that to maybe pay bonus or whatever they want to do with it. Right, after formatting my data, I have tried to clean my data. Now I have the proper names now. But what if I don't like to see, the names that are not clean? I want to remove A and B. If I right click and I click on delete on colon A, it affects my colon, the remaining 2 columns because they are dependent on those values. So what's the solution? Control Z to see it again. So I can just highlight it, highlight the 2 columns, right click, and then hide them. By the time I hide them, my proper name is still there, although the other 2 columns are there, but they are hidden. So nobody can see them. So if I want to just present this, I can just, just copy it and send it to whoever I'm sending to. So in Excel, you cannot delete them if you have colons that are depending on them. So what you just do is just to hide them, either the colon or the row or the cell, just hide it. And then nobody knows that you've hidden it, except, I just come here and say, okay, let me see if I actually eat anything. Then I can see that, oh yes, he actually eat some. Then I can unhide them. That's if the person has that privilege. For example, you are sending out this particular workbook and you have, made it that anybody that has access to it can only view, cannot edit. So no matter what, they cannot, make changes to it. So you just hide it and then you send it out. They can't, make changes to it. But anybody that has access to edit it can always make changes to the workbook.